With a handful of fired employees, HR intervened and asked IT to scan their computers for kiddie porn. AskReddit on Reddit Rundown. IT professionals who work at porn companies, what do you block on people's work computers? Once I had Facebook blocked on a girl's computer because she told our manager, finance and IT had the same manager, small company, she saw me browsing Facebook during work hours. Best part is that she could not complain to anyone without admitting she was being a bitch. Saw her a couple times using Facebook on a coworker's station. When I was a teen working in a call center, we had a Scientology pusher working with us. She would sit next to you and force you to go to the Scientology website and would walk you through signing up for shit. If you refused, she would claim discrimination, and run to HR. After a few HR meetings with employees, they decided to block the word Scientology so she could not do this anymore. God, I love our IT guys. Put up a specific blocked page for it that basically said to not endorse or encourage lies and scams. She went on a rampage through the office when it first came up, yelling that she was being discriminated against. When HR went to talk to her, she said something like, "Is my skin black? Am I a N-word?" Day ended with her being arrested for a bunch of things. Hate speech, destruction of property, trespassing, after being fired and asked to leave, and she threatened to kill the HR, the supervisors and my team cause we were killing ourselves laughing. I worked at 2 major porn companies for years. They gave no fucks. Get your job done, don't screw up, and nobody cared. Start screwing up, they will kill your ass. The IT guy was there to change passwords. Used to work for a very laid-back medium-sized business, about 80 to 100 employees. Most worked in the shop, where I was the only IT guy. I didn't block anything unless you sucked up too much of our bandwidth, then your ass is getting throttled. I didn't really care what sites anyone went to, but I'll be damned if you're gonna slow down my internet like that. Years ago, I did a stint as a consultant for an adult website. All porn was blocked on the corporate computers. They obviously had no serious qualms about the adult entertainment industry, but you still need to watch out for lawsuits. It doesn't go well for you, as a company, if the water guy, who may turn out to be a gal, comes in to do their job and people have porn on their screens. Funny enough, someone figured out you can watch porn through the built-in browser in our medical software. No clue why, it's not like people don't have their own phones. I read an AMA a few years ago by someone who worked at Pornhub, and she said that if she saw someone at work who didn't have porn on their screen, they probably weren't working. Somebody replied, I read an article by a former porn worker who said it's actually not a very fun job. Most people might enjoy porn for 20 minutes, maybe longer, but few people would enjoy it for 8 hours, as a requirement, in the office where you probably can't masturbate. I imagine you'd eventually become so desensitized you'd hardly be able to be aroused by anything after a while. I didn't work for a porn company, but I worked for a company that provided software as a service for a few. I came from very corporate background, tons of harassment training and warnings on viewing porn. It blew my mind how that company made me sign a document agreement that I may have to view porn as part of our activities, and that if I felt uncomfortable, I'd have someone to reach out to get off the issue. Basically, if we had to troubleshoot an issue, it might require us to see porn in the process of correcting it. Don't think I saw anything too bad as I recall. The porn companies seem to hire competent IT folks. Dear God. There was one guy when I worked at a car franchise back in the day. I had more things blocked on his computer than every other computer in the company. He used the company network to pirate films through uTorrent, went on some really sketchy NSFW sites, in full view of colleagues, but thankfully not a customer-facing area, some really weird social media sites and dating sites and the like. It was like whack-a-mole with his history. He also got more viruses than the rest of the company. In the end, after we had to reinstall Windows for the 3rd time, the head of IT and the owner of the company had to sit down with him and basically go, "That's it, you're on your one and only warning. One more instance of anything not work-related and you're done," because so much of what he was doing was illegal and could be traced back to the company computers. All it would take was one franchise standard audit to check his computer randomly and boom, huge trouble for everyone. He stayed a while longer, but when he wasn't able to stream illegal movies and stuff at his desk, he got bored and quit. Honestly, if it were me, he'd have been fired about 2 years earlier when we were moving site. We had expensive rackings for parts. It was dismantled and put outside the roller door. He was supposed to load it straight into the van. Instead, he went on a very early lunch and watched a 2-hour film at his desk when he got back. In that time, someone saw it, pulled a van up, had 5 guys jump out, load all the racking onto their van and drive off. About £1,200 to £1,500 worth of racking gone because he didn't take the 30 or so minutes to load it when he was told to. But the MD was going easy on them because we'd just taken that site over and the old management had let them get away with shit for years. They were completely checked out and wanting to sell for about 2 years before we bought it out, so it would take time for them to adjust, so they just made him pay for the racking out of his wages. Hate sites. Gambling sites. I had to get a dispensation to look at some NSFW and frankly disturbing adult websites when I was doing a project for work, I'm a researcher, about sexual violence. Reddit. Now I use my phone because I've got a corner office with a window and everyone else gets to suffer with no reception. Lamau. A guy in final year of school worked out that the school's IT guys had blocked the words but not the IP address, so if you entered the IP rather than the URL you could still get on the sites. Most people use this loophole to get onto Twitter, YouTube etc., but he used it for porn. Not quite network, but I heard from a friend that worked at Harrah's Casino in Lake Tahoe in the IT offices. He actually caused HR to lock up for a while. He put up in his cube a pretty racy poster of Playboy's Girls of Rock and Roll. Female programmers objected. But the group was playing downstairs in the casino showroom and had the Harrah's logo on it. HR had to huddle and think about that for a few days. They finally said it was fine for public areas but verboten in the admin areas back of house. I worked for a company that had a lawsuit over net content, and it stung pretty bad. We had to block everything not work related and green flag things as we went. Local news and weather were first so folks can get emergency reports and things of that nature. Vendor sites was a big pain in the ass since there were hundreds of sites that needed to be cleared. It all stemmed from someone posting something on MySpace, it was that long ago, and it went down a rabbit hole leading to some pretty sick porn and a virus on the network. Later a sexual harassment suit had to be settled and the board decided enough. Close all of the gates. Fun times. When I worked in a web development company in Florida we sometimes had to work on pornographic sites. For development they just have SFW placeholders. Things labeled ad or banner or video that don't show anything. An image file is an image file, it's not like the developers have to see porn to do their job. What? Really? I've never worked anywhere that blocked porn, nor anything else as far as I know. I even worked one place that had incidents of someone being caught watching porn instead of working. It was an open floor plan office. Though it did lead to us discovering a local porn company would occasionally use the exterior of the office building for filming on some weekends. It was a game development company, we often worked weekends. Now that I think about it, the only things I can remember having blocked was a recent client. I've been doing remote freelance for several years, kept blocking access to the tools on the VPN I needed access to do my job. So that was fun. Somebody replied I work for an IT company that handles IT for a whole bunch of small businesses. It's just good security to lock down anything that isn't directly needed by the employees. The average employee is a complete idiot when it comes to computers and they'll click on phishing links or download viruses daily. I even opened the YouTube app on my phone the other day and found out that they've somehow disabled the YouTube comment section from the app, which I think is just incredible integration. Not exactly a direct answer, but I've worked in Infosec for many years, and part of some of my roles involved running whichever web filtering platform. Just so everyone knows. That guy, the one who controls the filtering, doesn't give a shit what people browse at work 99% of the time. That's between the manager and the employee, and only if it's requested and approved. Even had people come to me and defend themselves preemptively. I saw one guy's name constantly under the porn category for 2 years. He'd just sit there in his lunch break, and spend the whole time surfing porn. Not my concern. That role is a security-related role. They're there to protect things, block malicious downloads, block sensitive data from being shipped out of the company, and, yeah, sometimes to complete dumb requests from leadership like, hey, we should block sites related to firearms for no discernible reason. Looking for someone watching porn in a company with 50k employees isn't feasible, and honestly, small potatoes that don't offer great security improvements. Even the lower-level IT crew is there to fix things or help in technical discussions. They don't care how you spend your workday. That's not their job. So, rest easy, and enjoy some porn. Maybe. Web filtering is about way more important things than that. Policies in place to block all personal email sites and social media. Any known porn sites were blocked. Emails with too much of the same skin tone in pictures were filtered. Emails with swear words were filtered. You may get them eventually, but after someone looked at them. You had to have special Active Directory permissions to send a company-wide email. Employees were reminded frequently that all activity was monitored on or off the network. Even with that, guys still looked for porn on their work computers. Sometimes a manager would give a warning. Never understood why, but most guys didn't stop and were fired. Over porn. With a handful of fired employees, HR intervened and asked IT to scan their computers for kiddie porn. That was emotionally exhausting. Saddest case was a security guard with a zero-tolerance clause in their contract for a myriad of offenses. He had kids and a wife and was suddenly fired the first week of December because he was looking at porn during work hours. Always wondered what lie he said to his wife. If this doesn't sound glamorous enough, the non-IT senior management would ask what we were doing to prevent a company-wide hack like they saw on a random Dateline special the night before. The same senior management who was always cutting the IT budget and not replacing IT positions after people left the company. All the tame-ass lame shit people are trying to browse, mostly people's boring hobbyist websites, plants, geology, model airplanes. Block all of it to keep them focused on that hardcore penis and vagina action that we pay them to engage with. I loved my job at eBay. The only time I had to look at porn as part of my job. Basically, I had to look over adult listing when someone called in to complain about them, and decided if the concern needed to be escalated. Pretty much just porn and things that would be used maliciously that an employee might accidentally click on, like slight misspellings of common websites. We have software that records literally every action they take on company machines. If anyone's dumb enough to try something, we just forward their activity to their HR rep and their supervisor. I worked in IT and we had just installed a porn filter to block websites. My manager was also in charge of the web group, so once it was installed, she said, "Okay, go test it out." I called my wife later and told her that my boss had told me to surf for porn at work. When I worked for the largest ISP in Italy, we had an open secret company shared folder chock full of pirated movies. A friend of mine is an IT supervisor at a hospital. He fired a guy for printing porn out on expensive label paper. He appealed and kept his job. My friend was actually glad, because he's a good worker and a nice guy. Poor guy is just horny. Not crazy, but I got a teacher fired by accident. I was in Spanish 2 and was almost failing. This was odd since I mainly had A's and B's. My mom also found this odd since I went to tutoring after class and asked for other help. After talking to others in my class about my performance, I realized a lot of the class was doing poor. My mom called the principal and thought she was doing so anonymously, however she forgot to 67 and the principal knew exactly who he was talking to. Next thing I know, he visited our class unannounced and sat there the whole time not using his phone, iPad or laptop. He then came in a couple more times for 10+ minutes. Next school year she was no longer a teacher and was moved to iPad support in our school district. This is the kicker. I had no idea our principal was fluent in Spanish. He clearly realized our teacher had no idea what she was doing. IT veteran here. I don't care what you do. I am not your manager. I don't care if you Facebook all day or search for recipes or watch porn. I just care that you don't break your damned computer so I don't have to fix it. Unfortunately, others care. HR cares if you watch porn, so we block that. Marketing cares if you tweet something while representing our company, so we block social media. It's always stuff like that. I guarantee you that unless you have a busybody, IT does not give a flying fuck what you do on your computer so long as you don't make more work for them. When we first moved into our first unit after high school, my partner connected us to the neighbor's Wi-Fi. And then the dunce downloaded a new popular expensive PC game. I love the guy, but it was stupid. The neighbors got a DMCA notice thingy obviously and put it under our door with a note letting us know they knew it was us using their Wi-Fi as their usage went up when we moved in. They were fine with us using it because they were unlimited, but could we please not download illegal shit? I was so embarrassed and pissed at him for a bit after that. I don't know what actually happens, but where I'm from you're allowed 3 notices like that before action is taken. And the listed fines are pretty big, especially when you download all your media content. So, I feel bad that we cost someone a strike. Thanks for listening to Reddit Rundown. Give a thumbs up and subscribe, and help me get to 1,000 subs. Leave a comment below on what kind of topics or stories you would like to hear. You can also check out other videos on my channel. Thanks and have an awesome day.